All right, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome everybody to our Lunch and Learn series from CS Source. Today I'm happy to have KPMG with Tyler Cuomo and Saskia Beck with us. KPMG is a global network of independent firms offering audit, tax, and advisory services to a variety of industries, which includes sport, telecom, media, industrial, and that's just a few, but they've got a lot of others that they work with. They're in 147 countries and employ 219,000 people, and they're headquartered in McLean, Virginia. And they've been with CS Source since 2018. Also, Tyler is a former Hokie, and he graduated last year. So welcome, both of you. Go ahead and teach us about trending and future.
Great. Thank you so much, Julia. Well, I'm going to definitely hand it over to Tyler, who's the subject matter expert. I don't think you want me to talk to you about technology. But as Julia mentioned, my name is Saskia Beck. I apologize for the background noise. I'm a KPMG recruiter for Virginia Tech. I've been with the firm for 2 years, but just recently transitioned into this VT recruiting role, and as a Hokie myself as well. I'm really excited to meet all of you and be a resource as you go through the recruitment process. So as you can see, Tyler and I included our contact information. Feel free to send us an email or connect with us on LinkedIn if you have any questions at all. And before I hand it over to Tyler, I did want to note that feel free to unmute your mic to engage in the presentation as he presents. And also, if you'd feel more comfortable, we're going to be saving the last 15-20 minutes for questions. So you can either type them in the chat feature and I'll read them out loud, or you can ask them yourselves. But just keep in mind, we'll have some time at the end to further discuss everything that Tyler touches on. So great. Well, Tyler, I'll go ahead and kick it to you and remove my video so I'm not a distraction.
Awesome. Thank you, Saskia, and thank you, Julia. It's awesome to be here today, kind of give you guys a rundown on current and future technologies. Also super excited to be here as a Hokie. As Julia mentioned, I graduated last year and I'm almost on my 1-year anniversary with the firm, which is exciting. It flies by way faster than school did, but it's exciting to kind of still get into a lot of the technologies I loved in school. So today we're going to be looking at trending and future technology, but we're going to be looking at this kind of through a different lens. So what we're going to do is look at trending and future technology through the lens of abstraction. And that's going to be our main focus, is this point of abstraction, kind of what is it? I'm sure some of you know it from your science classes. And how does it apply to previous technology? How does it apply to current technology? And how can we use it to see what's going to apply for future technology? So let's get started. So to start with abstraction, what is it? That's a good question. So Google defines it as the process of considering something independently of its associations, attributes, or concrete accompaniments. I said that right. But basically, it's removing a piece of the puzzle to make the puzzle simpler for the end user. Because a lot of the times, there's so many moving pieces, especially within code, but also machinery and all the other good technologies, that you can't focus on everything happening. So how don't we just remove a piece, which certainly takes more effort and time during the implementation, but it'll make it simpler in the end. Go to the next slide, please. So for one example of abstraction, we'll start with a pen. So I can't remember the last time I picked up a pen and thought, well, how can I make the ink flow from the ink cartridge to the nib? It's gravity probably somewhere there, a spring I would have to imagine, something with a click button. But I don't have to worry about that. I just know that I can pick up a pen and I can write with it. And that's my only worry is, oh, does it write? It does. Fine. And that's kind of that example of abstraction. You don't have to worry about kind of all those moving parts. You don't have to worry about the ink in the middle or how it gets formed or being able to actually have the gravity flow and move the ink. It's just there for you. It's there for the function. And that's what you're worried about. And that's that sense of removing all those pieces so you don't have to worry about them. And then you just have the cartridge and your ability to write. Now, another example of this, which is going to be software related, is a web page. So when you go on a web page, you see the web page, and that's kind of, there you go. That's like what the user gets. But there's so much more behind that the user doesn't see, like the code that's going to get minimized to be displayed on the web page, and then you have the actual basis of the HTML, and then further from that, you're going to have the actual code written into the HTML files, and further than that, you've got server that you're going to have to call in order to get the data. And then further, you can kind of see the trend going on here is that there's more and more layers. And within the server's calls, that's going to hit more code, that'll hit more layers and more underlying functions, more libraries. So it certainly is that same process of kind of just zooming out in a sense, so that you don't have to worry about all those inner workings or how the code is getting minimized and kind of what's going on underneath the hood. You just get to see the web page on top, and that's all you're worried about. So how does this apply to programming in software? Well, abstraction is all over programming. I was curious if you guys, I think you can talk to me if you guys can think of any, or any that you learned in your classes. And if not, that's fine too. I'll just tell you guys. So it's all over programming. So it's going to consist of functions. All you have to do is call the function. Who cares what's written? It could be an encryption function that you have no idea about encryption, but you just know that it'll work. It's methods, APIs, queries, libraries. The list kind of goes on, but it's still that same premise of just zooming out and not having to worry about what's behind the curtain. All you're worried about is being able to use it. And that's kind of the beauty of abstraction of this, and especially within software, is because you don't have to be those experts on those libraries you're using, or those complex math libraries a lot of people use. All you have to do is just know how to make the calls. Now, I also want to pin your guys' mind again. So what are some technological breakthroughs you guys can think of? Once you guys can't think of any, that's fine, but I'm sure you can. What's something in the past that you consider technological breakthrough? Okay, I'll say some. So for me, I think the transistor is probably one of the biggest ones. If I had to put one on there. Another one, I don't know, the computer itself, I think, but this is probably just because I'm a computer science nerd, but there's plenty of them. So here's some listed here. So we have light bulb, telegraph, radio, nuclear power, certainly, computers. And this is kind of still following that abstraction theme. A lot of these, there's so many components that go into them, so many underlying factors and kind of parts, and we don't kind of worry about those when we're in them. When you're in an airplane, you're not thinking about kind of whether it's third law of motion or Bernoulli's equation. You just know that hopefully it'll take off. And that's kind of the same thing here, with the transistor. When they originally were building that, that was kind of, I remember it was changing all those vacuum tubes and kind of making sure they were always in place and all of them were working. And now I don't remember the last time I thought of a transistor besides the senior year circuit classes, but it's the same thing. You don't have to worry about that anymore. You just know it'll work unless you feel like a crash on your computer. But other than that, you're just going to assume they work. And that's one less worry you have to worry about when you're using the computer now. And certainly applies to all those other examples there as well. Kind of just all you see is what's on the screen. Now, these are some of our newest abstractions, technology happening now. And I still kind of want to pin you guys. What do you guys think is happening now, or current technology? Apple Glass. I've not heard of that one. AR, definitely. I feel like AR is a cool one because you get to kind of abstract the real world and change how you want. So I imagine Apple Glass is probably just Apple's version of that, those Snapchat glasses that are super cool. But yeah, those are all certainly ones. I had some more listed on here as well, but it's basically a lot of the things you hit on. So we have virtual reality, we have Internet of Things, robotic process automation. That's a big one right now. Cloud, certainly. I feel like I hear that word all the time, everywhere. But these are kind of just our newest abstractions. We took those things that we originally had and we kind of just built upon them. Now we don't have to worry about those underlying processes or those underlying technologies anymore. Really, Internet of Things, I doubt they worry about how the internet works on them, except being excited for 5G and all that good stuff. But it's just one less thing to worry about. Once again, removing that piece of that puzzle so you can just focus on what's there. And as you can see, we're still once again just adding layers. But I do want to go into some detail, kind of where the abstraction lies within the examples up here. So let's go to the next slide, please. So these are some examples of kind of the actual implementation of the abstraction. So for cloud solutions, companies used to have a server room and have to have dedicated IT people to make sure they ran the server room. And hopefully they wired it up nice so it wasn't one big jumbled mush of servers. And you had to constantly worry about upgrading storage and all that kind of stuff. Well, now we have server warehouses. Suddenly you don't have to worry about upgrading storage. You just have to turn on another server. Now instead of a company having a server room, they can just be a customer to your server warehouse. And that's that layer of abstraction where now they just kind of took it a step back so they don't have to kind of worry about all the intricacies or the actual day-to-day of how it's going to work. Another great example I like is scalable web building. This one, it always reminds me of like Shopify or a lot of those product websites. But basically, used to, if you wanted to build a kind of product website, you'd have to hire a team of software developers, which, that's going to cost money. They're going to have to maintain it, so that's going to cost money. And then they're going to like custom implement it for you, so at least it'll be beautiful and exactly what you want. But there's going to be so many more resources that are going to have to go into it in time in order to get where you want to, where you eventually have your like full product website. Now you can just build one website that is customizable for all products, and you can change how many rows you want, or you can, just customize it to your liking. And that's kind of the beauty of abstraction, is that now there's going to be less resources in the actual implementation, and you can just, you want a product website by the end of the day, you can do that. Internet of Things, certainly, that's just going to, you'll have data everywhere. It's on everything. Suddenly, you don't have to worry about your power bill too much. Also, artificial intelligence. So this is, I think, going to be a big one. But basically, now you have to test for every edge case, especially with security vulnerabilities, having to test everything within the application. Artificial intelligence, it's going to allow us, so it'll do that for us. Suddenly, you don't have to have a whole team of testers or security experts to worry about kind of where your vulnerabilities lie, which is still stressful in a sense, because as humans, we know where all the vulnerabilities lie within the security. So that'll be another layer of abstraction where all that's going to get handled for us. All you have to do is worry about it now, write it once. And then next slide, please. So with this, where can we go? What other abstractions can we make for this technology that we already have, and kind of keep adding another layer on top of it? I imagine that's what's going to happen. And you guys are all certainly going to have a hand in creating the future. So where do you want it to go? Where do you guys see it going? That's an actual question. That's a good one. More accessible to the general public. That'd be awesome. Kind of just spraying iPhones. I think that's a good one. I've got some more up here too. And these are all kind of just where I assume it's going to go, based on what we've seen in the past, kind of building on, adding layers. Certainly, we're all going to have a part to play in this. But scalable artificial intelligence. Now, instead of that one scenario like testing or security vulnerabilities, you'll be able to tell an AI, hey, I want you to be able to do this, and I want you to be able to do it well. All you have to do is give the inputs, and then it'll be able to handle kind of all the learning and eventually give you your optimized or most performing output. Data, I think with the Internet of Things, data is going to literally be in everything. We're just going to have mountains and mountains of data, but I guess that's a good thing. It's just another layer of somebody doesn't have to go in there now and have to run all those metrics and figure out all that data in order to build a chart and then correlate them. Now it'll all be handled for us. I think complete virtuality will be one, just abstracting reality. Now we don't have this physics engine to play in. It'll be kind of whatever you want to make of it. And then that'll solve so many other problems, like resources or traveling, all bunch of problems. Low code and no code, I think, is going to be the biggest one. I'm not saying that there will not be a need for software developers, because we're certainly going to be there having to build this stuff and maintain it. But I think eventually, when you want to code something, like whether it be an iPhone application or a web application, truly, eventually, I think it'll be anything you want to make. It'll just be drag and drop. Oh, I want to create like a cool homepage. Drag the homepage in, customize it the way you want. Suddenly, you don't know how, or you don't have to know how to code if you want to implement these things or build your own technology applications. That's abstracted from you now, and all you know is you can just build it however you want. And that's, once again, removing, that's a massive piece of the puzzle that you're removing, is kind of all this knowledge that we've gained over the years of how to code and all that, which will certainly be there behind the scenes and will take more to implement, like this no code stuff. But that's certainly what I think the future is going to be eventually. Now, through all this and kind of all the technology and all the abstractions, there's one big question, and that's, where does business fit within all this? So technologies keep getting abstracted, okay, but how does business kind of fit in? So that reminds me of this chart here. So to see where business fits, I want to show you all kind of how business has evolved, especially within the last 20 years. So as you can see here, like originally, we were all worried about mechanical systems for 150 years, production engineering, kind of the actual physical, making sure we can build things. Eventually, you know, we got to information systems, which led to internet systems. Now we're kind of in the cloud and internet things, especially with the intelligent automation systems. But as you can see, like this chart is definitely skewed towards right. It's exponential growth on kind of as we're abstracting things. Like we just keep pulling more and more pieces out of this puzzle, and we just keep changing further and further. Now, it certainly is exponential growth, and it's only getting faster, but it's going to eventually be, I think it'll be like 1 year. For this intelligent automation systems, it'll be 1 year. And then it'll be like 20 minutes, and then all the changes will be happening. So as, you know, all these changes are happening currently. It's truly an outgrowth of like the dynamic environment we find ourselves in. It's kind of, you can log on a month from now, and it could be a completely different technological realm that you were working in 3 months ago. So I think we're going to have to adjust for those changes. We identified a number of key industries and sectors where we believe the market forces will kind of be most pronounced within these changes. And I will kind of go over some of them with you all. So all these changes are currently happening literally as we're talking now. And we call this the age of disruption. So we're kind of seeing that the marketplace is being disrupted, and it's kind of becoming an intersection of multiple technologies. You want to implement something, you're going to be working with a realm of technologies rather than kind of focusing on one, for the most part. Now, as a client-facing, you know, professional services and technology firm, we're constantly trying to stay ahead of the trends and anticipating these disruptions, so we can advise our clients and kind of just to be ahead of the game a little bit. That way, we can be forward-thinking. We can have customized solutions out there before, like, we can actually do the abstracting. And the people, the process, the technology, and the business models, we're going to change all those gears in order to transform and stay ahead of this kind of ever-changing environment. Some of the places I think will be happening, like a lot of them are on here, but it's going to be certainly cybersecurity, demobilization. I think that kind of touches to technology for everyone, cloud connectivity. One of the things we've already talked about is it'll just continue to ever evolve and ever change. In addition, you know, to capture emerging market opportunities brought about by these changes, KPMG constantly increases their focus within areas that they think will be a change. And certainly, it can add like just another circle to this chart. I doubt cloud and connectivity was only 5 years ago. We kind of just continuously trying to kind of put a hand in every technology out there, trying to see how we can best use it for our clients, and then seeing if we can abstract or build upon it to kind of make it more custom suite, or to take a piece out of the puzzle so that it'll be easier to implement across a wide variety of clients instead of one specific client. Kind of continuously doing that abstraction we've been talking about. Now, all these are not necessarily a priority that the firm is focused on. Certainly, we have more resources in some than others, but we'll continue to maintain focus on how the market and environment is changing and how we can play a part in that. You know, we always continuously strive to basically be on the forefront of it and anticipate the changes rather than react to the changes. Now with this, I want to provide you guys some examples that I personally worked on. I wish we could have had some like cool client stuff and numbers on here, but unfortunately we can't. Some of it is federal stuff. But basically, the first one I'll do is data and analytics. So used to, you know, when a company would have all this data, they wouldn't really know how to use it or what to do with it. And they would usually try to mine for correlations, and they might find some correlations within the data, and maybe it'll help them in the future. But for the most part, they just have it's like one big data lake. What are you going to do with it? So KPMG actually worked with a large client, and basically we automated all that data. So you can, it was basically just one constant input, and then we built a data and analytics model that would mine that input for actual correlations and kind of basically see what we can do to pull anything out of it. One example, like that I can name things, is actually clothing companies do this now. So they look at the data for like previous sales and kind of trends within the past, recent past, and they'll try to mine those to anticipate what changes are going to happen in the future. And that, I mean that in a sense of like style changes. Jean shorts were really popular last month. Next it'll be like jean, I don't know, capris or something. So it's still using that data analytics to just pull another piece out and kind of, in this sense, see what's going on in the future before you even get there. And I think that's part of the data analytics side. that they can continuously mine for that. Another example I have for you guys is cloud. So I feel like cloud always keeps getting brought up. It's definitely like a big thing right now. And one thing we did was basically we had a large client that had to maintain their own server room, and they had to maintain their own servers. And this is a problem. It was a federal one too. And basically, you're running out of storage, and you have to put 10 requests in order to get the storage upgrade, and then you have to make sure that gets online on time. And then kind of gotta make sure the load's always balanced. And like we have an influx of users coming in on Mondays at like 9 a.m. But the servers are like dead at like Fridays. So like, how can we best adjust this? So we actually built the whole cloud infrastructure for them. So we're basically, they don't have to worry about any of that anymore. Now, if they need more storage, they don't have to submit a request in order to have it upgraded. They're constantly kind of going through the bureaucracy of that. It's more so it'll automatically adjust to their needs. And it does this with load as well. So because we also run the servers for them. So basically, it'll handle multiple technologies for them. And a lot of it though, I think was more so the storage and kind of the cloud. I think the overall goal of that was to kind of be able to just automatically adjust to their storage needs. But it's just one example. Now they don't have to worry about that. They just know if the lights on, their environment's working, and their site's running, and it's kind of all efficient for them. And just one example of pulling that, zooming them out. So now we're kind of focused on it, and then they can just kind of reap the rewards, or just know that the process is working. So I believe that's it. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them of anything about where we've been or where do you think we're going. I think it'll be cool to see where you guys think we're going as well. I was in your shoes a year ago, so yeah, feel free.
Hey Tyler, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
So my name's Danny, and I'm currently a rising senior, majoring in industrial and systems engineering, and I'm also minoring in computer science. And I have an internship with KPMG this summer coming up. And I was wondering, because of the whole coronavirus situation and everything kind of being shortened, or at least for the internship, I was looking into a few AWS certifications, and I got some recommendations from some of my friends that are also in the industry, and they said to look at Cloud Guru. And I was just wondering, like I've been like right now I'm studying for the solutions architect certification, the associate one, and I was just wondering if there's any other ones that you would recommend, or or if I should go with Microsoft Azure or something, something like PMG.
So I think there's a cloud management one on AWS. That could be a cool one too. Honestly, and I feel like it's a personal opinion. It's definitely kind of tailored to what you want. Mm-hmm. But I would prefer to like kind of delve into technology rather than get the cert. I don't know if that's a bad thing to say, but like, so actually using that AWS SDK and kind of like throwing it into your own app, and maybe you can talk to an S3 bucket and upload stuff, or maybe you implement your own Lambda function. I always, at least for myself, I found that to be a better way to actually learn the libraries. Mm-hmm. But I would certainly also look at Azure. I feel like it was AWS like for a while, and now Azure's creeping up. So I would definitely take a look at that and kind of blob storage and how that goes. I feel like the certs could be useful though, like especially on a resume, or if you want to kind of get yourself in a project that you want to be able to show, like, hey, I got it.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, and they have like a whole like a specific data path. Like I'm really interested in like big data and data analytics type of stuff. So like there's like specific certs for that path. And then I guess a follow question: have you ever worked on a project or seen people working on a project where they don't use AWS and they use either Microsoft Azure or the Google Cloud platform?
Yeah, so actually I had to do like this whole cloud. It was basically a front end for an S3 bucket like 3 months ago, and then they switched to Azure. So I learned AWS, and then it was a switch. I think that's kind of, I don't know, but in my own personal experience, that's been kind of the industry. It was originally AWS, and now it's kind of all switching to Azure. I don't know if it would stay that way. I think it would be honestly best to just kind of scrape the surface of both of them as much as you can. And truly, I think once you, especially if you get that cert, it'll just be of like changing the way you call something or looking up what the name changes for a store, because like they literally have like a side by side. Here's the S3 or Amazon, what they call it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Gotcha.
as long as you kind of like get the cert and get those underlying principles down, like you should be able to apply it anyway.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for your question. Are there any others?
I'm here too in case anyone has any questions related to recruiting or going through the fall, if you're just getting started.
Also, sorry, I did not have my chat box up, so now I see all these cool.
I can ask. I have another sort of question just for I guess for when you start working full time. How often do you guys see yourself? I guess I should say before the pandemic. How often did you guys see yourself working from home?
So let's go first. So for me personally, I work from home about probably like once every 2 weeks or once a week. I think that becomes more open after your first year. I think the first year, kind of one of your main goals is outreach and branching out to as many managers as you can meet, and all the elevator chats you can have, and coffee breaks, and all that good stuff. But I see myself definitely in the future, especially after coronavirus, I'll probably be working from home at least a couple of days a week. But it has been nice.
I think it depends on.
Yeah,
I think it depends on your client and your team that you work on, at least specific to our firm. So, Tyler, have you worked on multiple clients or primarily just one?
So just one. I actually I'm switching in like a month. First time.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, so hopefully it'll
Question.
have that same trend.
Any other questions?
So I have a question about this presentation. So I still don't like points like I guess like the main argument of this talk. So it kind of like went over like what is abstraction and how abstraction is like basically like everywhere in the tools that we use, and then you talked about some of the technological breakthroughs in the past and also like at the present time. So are you saying that abstraction is like specific to only like the breakthrough technologies? Because to me, I feel like abstraction is like in like every parts of our life. Like I don't think it's only like specific to the technologies that we use. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I think this was more so focusing on like past and like trending and future technologies. So just kind of showing where those underlying themes were, zooming out a little bit, and hey, can we apply it to more places? We do more with it. Whereas I certainly think abstraction is this kind of in all realms. I think especially in business world, abstraction is all over the place. So I feel like that is a common thing, like just in the reality we're in, just not having to worry about it as much and keep zooming out. But this is more so through the technological lens of abstraction and kind of how you learn about it in a like in a classroom sense. You guys learn the abstraction functions, libraries, and that good stuff, and then how it applies to like the overall technologies and how they are. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, that might be it. But as we mentioned, if you were able to jot down our contact information, we are happy to continue to be a resource. So feel free to reach out to us if you think of anything after this presentation that you'd like some more insight into as well. So that we're gonna say thank you for this awesome thank you slide in honor of Pride Month. And yeah, I think that's all we have.
Well, Tyler and Saskia, I just want to thank you too for being here and just sharing all your knowledge and the ideas of the future technology and how that's going to work. And I just thank you, and thank you to the students that were here. Just appreciate your time. Next week, we're going to have General Dynamics, and they're going to talk about security clearances. So thank you all for coming. Have a great day.